Alright guys, today we're looking at being able to solve more complex equations by completing the square. So, first thing I want you to do is, without looking at your note sheet from yesterday, because I'm pretty sure one of these is a repeat, try to solve both of these equations by completing the square, pause, and then come back. Okay, so first thing we need to do, add jumping ahead of myself there, sorry, add 10 to both sides. We get x squared plus 4x equals 10. Then complete the square. 2 2's make 4. 2 times 2 is 4, so a 4 will complete the square. Add that to both sides. I'm going to bring my work up over here because I don't ever like to leave you guys nearly enough room. We get x plus 2 squared when we factor. We get 14 over here. Square root, both sides, we get absolute value of x plus 2 equals the square root of 14, which is just under 4 at 3.74. Split it up into two equations because of the absolute value. That middle part could be 3.74 or negative 3.74, and we'd still get a good answer. Subtract 2 from both sides. Here we get x equals 1.74, and here we get, I believe, negative 5.74, right? Oh no, I'm not doing that right at all, am I? No, maybe I am. Yeah. No, I'm good. Okay, so that's what we got. So hopefully that worked out pretty well for you guys. Then, this one, add 1 to both sides. We get x squared plus 9x equals 1. The number that completes the square is 4.5 times itself. I think we've done that one before too. It's 20.25, so add that to both sides. I'm writing a little small here, sorry about that. So we get x plus 4.5 squared equals 21.25 because we added the 1. Take the square root of both sides. We get x plus 4.5 in absolute value over here, and we get the square root of 21.25 on this side, which is not easy to figure out in your head. So I'm going to use a calculator. I get 4.61. Split it up into two equations. I just keep bringing my work over sideways because I really did not leave enough room. X plus 4.5 equals 4.61 and negative 4.61. Subtract 4.5 from both sides. Over here we get 0.11. And over here we get negative 9.11. I believe, yeah. Great. So, that's all we got there. Now, let's look at a little trickier, more kind of odd examples. So, I don't really consider A to be all that odd of an example. We were doing basically only problems that didn't have a number out on this side, but the only real difference between B and A is that when you add 1 over onto this side, you're going to get x squared plus 9x equals 6 instead of equals 1. Yeah, that was tricky. I'm not going to go through and actually find the answers. I just kind of wanted to point that out to you. Okay. Another one where I probably don't need to point anything out to you. What's the problem we have here? Pause and think about it if you need to, for sure. But what's the problem we got there? I underlined it. Yeah, we got x's on different sides. So really, all you want to do here is subtract 2x first and get x squared minus 14x minus 4 equals 0. Then add your 4. And then complete the square. Okay, 2 negative 7's make negative 14. 2 negative 7's multiply gets me 49. Add 49 to both sides. You get x minus 7 quantity squared equals 53. I'm not going to keep going. You know how to solve it at that point. C, it looks more complicated, I think, than it is. But here, if you get into a situation like this, I think the simplest way to handle it is to just add x squared to both sides. Because then you don't have to worry about, well, what happens if I have a negative x squared? Because we haven't done that yet. Well, guess what? Now you don't got to worry about it. You got x squared plus 4x equals 2. Complete the square. 2 2's make 4. 2 times 2 is also 4. So add 4 to both sides. And again, I'm not going to finish most of these problems except starting at D. I'm going to start finishing. Okay, so D, why is D vastly, despite those other quaint little tricks, I doubt they really fooled any of you too much, okay, because we're used to moving terms around. For D, why is this example vastly different? Pause and think about it. Hopefully what you notice is that there's a number here, okay? We don't know, if we go all the way back and look at completing the square, here, let's go ahead and look at it. I got the sheet right here. So if we go back and look at what we were doing when we were completing the square, the thing to really keep in mind here is that we were only looking at stuff that had just a regular old x squared at the beginning. That's all we were looking at, okay? So what you got to keep in mind is that that's the only pattern we know. So you need to, when you're doing one of these, you need to get rid of that coefficient. Now, how do you do that? You could subtract 3x squared, that would make it a 1, but then you'd have that rogue negative 3x squared on the other side. So you have to divide by 4. And you have to divide both sides by 4. Okay? The right side, thankfully, is 0, so that's still 0. You're allowed to do 0 divided by 4, just not the other way around. Over here, remember, this is distributive property. It's got to go to each one of those terms. So we get x squared plus 5x minus 2.5. Well, now it just looks like one that we've done already, okay? I will finish this one off for you. So add 2.5 to both sides. Complete the square. 2.5s will make 5. And 2.5 squared, I believe, is 6.25. It is. So add 6.25 here to complete the square. Add 6.25 to the other side. We get x squared plus 2.5x. Oops, I'm sorry. X plus 2.5 quantity squared. My fault. I forgot we were factoring. Kind of lost my train of thought. And then 8.75 over here. Take the square root of both sides. I'm going to move my work, because I don't like to leave you guys enough room on these problems. I'm trying to save a little paper, okay? I get x plus 2.5 in absolute value, and the square root of 8.75 is 2.96. Split it up into 2. I'm writing them vertically to save a little bit of room. I don't have much room over to the side. So 1 positive, 1 negative. Subtract 2.5 from both sides. And we get, in this one, we get 0.46. And then over here, we get negative 5.46. I think. I'm hoping. I'm praying. Hopefully that worked. Math is hard in your head sometimes, especially when it's late at night. Okay, so I'm going to flip it over to the other side. You got 1 to try over here on your own, okay? So what I want you to do is give it the best go that you got, pause, and then come back. All right, start by dividing everything by 5. We get x squared plus 1.6x plus 1.8 equals 0. Subtract 1.8 from both sides. Uh, 2.8s are what will make 1.6. If we multiply 2.8, so we get 0.64. Add 0.64. We are about to have a problem, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to have a rather large problem. See, here's the problem. We now get x plus 0.8 squared equals negative 1.16. If you take the square root of both sides here, you can't take the square root of a negative number. So here we actually get our first example of a no solution problem. Pretty nifty. So if you get a negative on the other side after you've completed the square, so after it looks like this, okay, a binomial squared equal to a number, that's how you know it's no solution. So thought I'd get you one of those. So we had a bunch of weird examples here. Hopefully you kind of figured it out. The biggest thing was you have to divide that initial coefficient out. That's it for this one.